Hello and welcome to another video. Today I am going to share with you some of my favourite retellings. I am a massive fan of retellings and I have almost an entire shelf of retellings, and that's not even all of them. And I just really love them. I especially love the ones that are retellings of like Disney stories, because I'm a massive Disney fan. Don't know if you've heard that. So I thought I would just share some of my favourite ones with you today. So I'm going to start with a bunch of books that are by one author in particular, and that is Christina Henry. So this is not all of Christina Henry's books. This is just some of them. I do also have her book called The Ghost Tree, and she has just released another book. I have not read those ones, so I'm not sure if they're retellings, but I have also not read Red Queen and Looking Glass, but I'm just going to go through these. I'm going to put them down because it's going to be awkward. So first up we have Alice, Red Queen and Looking Glass. These are obviously Alice in Wonderland retellings. I have only read Alice of these three, but I absolutely love the dark twist. I mean, if you think about it, Alice in Wonderland is pretty dark anyway, but it's just played off as like happy, funny, quirky, whimsical for kids. And the original story, I have never read it, but I've heard people say it is very odd. But I really love the dark twist. So this, and this is not a spoiler, she is waking up and we see that she is actually in an asylum. And there are twists on like the Mad Hatter, Cheshire Cat, and it's just brilliant. I really do want to get to these two. It's just something that's not really happened because other books have popped up, and I'm really bad at continuing and finishing series, but I really enjoyed this and I like the dark twist. Then we have Lost Boy, which is obviously a Peter Pan retelling, and it literally just says all children grow up except one, and this is from the point of view of someone else, and I do not want to say who, because even though on the American cover of it the tagline basically spoils it, but it is kind of obvious from when you first start reading it, but still don't want to say anything in case anyone wants to go into this. But it's from the point of view of one of the Lost Boys, and the last line of the blurb is Peter lies. So it's very interesting seeing this dark side of Peter Pan, and he's not so happy and fun as the Disney version obviously shows him as. And I just really loved this. I think this is actually my favourite Christina Henry. This is my second favourite Christina Henry book that I've read so far. It is brilliant and I love it. Next up we have The Mermaid. Now when I originally saw this, I actually thought it was going to be a Little Mermaid retelling, but it is not. This is a retelling of P.T. Barnum. If you've seen The Greatest Showman, that is P.T. Barnum. However, Greatest Showman makes him seem like an okay guy. In reality, he was not, and this showcases what sort of person he was. Obviously, I think this is a lot darker than the real life story of P.T. Barnum, but yeah, I really enjoyed this. It obviously is not a Disney retelling like I thought it was, but it is really good and really dark, and yeah, I just absolutely loved this. Plus I love mermaids, so it was always a win-win for me. And then the final Christina Henry book is actually my favourite one, and that is The Girl in Red. This is a Little Red Riding Hood retelling. But this, I am going to straight up say, maybe don't read it during the pandemic, because I did. So it literally says, it's not safe for anyone alone in the woods, but the woman in the red jacket has no choice, not since the crisis came, decimated the population and sent those who survived fleeing into quarantine camps that serve as breeding grounds for death, destruction and disease. She is just a woman trying not to get killed in a world that was perfectly sane and normal until 3 months ago. This does have a very dark twist in it, and I was here for it. This was one of the first books I ever tabbed as well. I do actually want to replace the tabs because I don't like these ones as tabbing post-its, so I think I am going to go back through and replace the tabs but in the same spots, because really liked some of these bits that wanted to highlight in case I wanted to like look back through at some point. But yeah, I absolutely loved this. It is my favourite Christina Henry book to date, and I would highly recommend it. Just if you're a bit sensitive to books that have like viruses and crisis and quarantines in right now, then maybe don't read it now. I did not realise it going into it that was going to be the case, but I did still really enjoy it. And yeah, brilliant retelling of Red Riding Hood. So that was all the Christina Henry books. These are on no particular order, by the way. I should have really said that. Also, that is my chair creaking. I apologise if you keep hearing that. So weirdly, although my favourite Disney film is Little Mermaid, I only have one Little Mermaid retelling on this list, and it's not even Little Mermaid really. Well, it is, kind of. It's Sea Witch by Sarah Henning. So I very recently read this and I liked it a lot more than I was actually expecting. I didn't actually realise, I never read the tagline. So I didn't actually realise this is an Ursula retelling, which Ursula's one of my favourite villains. But the tagline says, before she took the Little Mermaid's voice, she gave up her own heart. And this is a really great story of like how Ursula become Ursula, and it is genius. I loved it, and I'm very excited to see the sequel, to read the sequel. I do have the sequel, but I literally read this last month so I haven't got to the sequel yet. But yeah, I really enjoyed this, and it's a very good twist on how like Ursula become Ursula, and I really enjoyed it. Next up, I have a couple of Cinderella retellings. Now, Cinderella's not my favourite, I'm not gonna lie. Cinderella and Snow White are probably my least favourite Disney princesses, but I do like the idea of it. So the first Cinderella one I'm going to give you is Geekerella. Now, this is a this is a very modern retelling. We have Elle, who lives with her stepmother and stepsisters after her dad has died, and Elle's dad, I think, like owned this convention, or he was very famous at these conventions, and her mum used to cosplay before her mum died, and she wants to enter the cosplay competition, and her stepmother basically says, no, you cannot go to the ball. And this actually switches between both Elle's perspective and Darian Freeman, who is the guy that's been cast to play the main person in this very famous sci-fi franchise that's being rebooted. And we see him like dealing with, you know, people don't agree with him being cast, but really he's a massive fanboy and he absolutely loves this series, but people don't see that because they don't know him, and they accidentally end up talking via texts, and it's just so amazing. The second and third book are also incredible. The second book is called The Princess and the Fangirl, and I'm not actually sure what that's a retelling of, but then the third one is called Bookish and the Beast, and it is literally a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and it's amazing. That one's actually my favourite, but this one's so good and I love it, and I just think everyone should read it because it's contemporary, and I don't like contemporary as much as some people, but I love this series. It's just incredible, and I think it helps because it involves a Comic-Con, and I love Comic-Cons. But yeah, I absolutely love this, and I highly recommend the entire series, not just this one. And then the other one isn't so much a retelling, it's more of a continuation, and that's Cinderella is Dead by Kaylin Bayron. This is set 200 years after Cinderella has died. So obviously Cinderella met her Prince Charming, and Cinderella's story is basically is made into this like massive thing that all girls should know this story and should aspire to follow this story and be good little girls and just find their Prince Charming and get married and follow the Cinderella code. And it's very much a smash the patriarchy, men are trash. I love it. And it's also sapphic, which we love. And Sophia actually meets the I think she's the final, like the last descendant of Cinderella and her stepsisters. I think she's one of the stepsisters' descendants, and they have to figure out why these girls are going missing, and they have to smash the patriarchy. And I can't say anything else without spoiling. I'm trying not to spoil, but this is just such an incredible book, and I absolutely loved this so much. And it's a little bit dark, which I'm here for. Next up we have a Robin Hood retelling, and again this is less of a retelling, more of a continuation, and that's Hood by Jenny Elder Moak. I recently read this and I really love this. So this follows a girl who actually, so she doesn't really know her dad, she doesn't know who her dad is, and then she finds out that her dad is actually Robin Hood, and her mum, Marion, needs to get her to safety because people are after her. So she tells her who her dad is and sends her off to find her dad, and it's just a big old adventure. It's dodging the authorities who are after her because she is Robin Hood's daughter, and it's just really good. I really enjoyed this, and I would love to see a sequel to this one, because although it did sort of wrap it up enough for it to be a standalone, I would love to see more of the other characters developed, because I really enjoyed the Merry Men. I thought they were amazing, especially the ones that she went on this, like she found and went on the mission to find her dad. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. And then the final one I'm going to give you is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and that was the main reason that I decided to read this book in the first place, and the entire trilogy is just amazing, and that's A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmerer. I am fully obsessed with this. So we have Prince Rent, who has a curse on him, and he basically becomes a beast, and to break the curse he has to find someone who will fall in love with him, and he's in a continual loop because of this curse. It's constantly, I think it's autumn, and if he doesn't break the curse by the end of the season, it's like a Groundhog Day thing, and it will reset back to the beginning of the season and it starts all over again. So he has his guardsman Grey, who is the only person who's still around in the castle. He has Grey use this magical object to go and find girls, and there's one girl each season, and he has to try and, you know, make them fall in love with him. And he's sort of like given up on life, and then Harper arrives from Washington DC, and I really love how Harper's character's written, and I cannot say anything about the sequels because obviously this is the first in a trilogy, but as it goes on it becomes less of a retelling, but the first book is predominantly a Beauty and the Beast retelling. And yeah, I think it's so well written, and I'm obsessed with this story so much, and I want to reread it. It's one of my favourite series ever, and Bridget Kemmerer is just an incredible writer, and I just love how dark it gets at points, and yeah, I love it so much. Okay, so I'm going to stop gushing about the books because I'm not really telling you much about them. So they were some of my favourite retellings. Obviously that's not all the retellings I have read. I also, as much as it's one of my favourite series ever, I did not want to include ACOTAR on this because although the first book is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, I just feel like everyone always puts that on their faves, and even though it is a favourite, I wanted to give you some others that were not booktube's biggest loves, basically. And I know like some of these are really popular, but they're not as popular. And yeah, I love reading retellings, so like I have a lot more that I haven't actually read yet, but so you never know, I might do this video again and include some different ones when I've read some different ones. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any retellings that you think I would love, or that you just want to share, then leave a comment, let me know what they are, and you never know, I might actually have them on my shelves. I honestly have so many retellings that I haven't read yet that I need to get to, so there's a possibility I would have them, but it might make me bump them up higher on my TBR, you never know. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I will see you next time. Bye.